So, you know, they just don't have good luck around here.
Yeah, okay.
But how do you divide up the solo work between, you know, when Graaf works, when you work? I mean, there was a lot of crossover for quite a while.
Well, when in the old days, when Graaf was working, that was it. You know, Graaf was the priority. Although I did one solo album while Graaf was active, but that was basically just, you know, a bit of time to prepare the things and a week to record the album, because that's what we did in those days. So when at that time it was the priority. Obviously, we had kind of a periods of hiatus, which some would call breaking up, for a couple of years or so.
It's always amicable, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
but actually, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Oh, yeah.
At least that was the word on the street.
Yeah, the breakups were not exactly sweetness and light, but obviously we did kind of stay, you know, civilized and what have you, and as you say, did play with each other. So when the band wasn't operating, then I'd make solo records. Now, of course, Graaf finished back in 77, 78. So from then until the very recent past, it's just been solo work. And there, it's a question of, you know, am I doing actual solo or duo or trio or working with a band or what have you. Now it's quite interesting. Now that, you know, we've got this late flowering of Graaf world, it's, I wouldn't say it's complicated exactly, but, you know, we have to fit together things in a way that wasn't the case before, because there are, for me, you know, two simultaneous things going on, the solo career and the Graaf career. In fact, you know, I'm in the middle of this stretch of complete madness. You know, I've got this week here with 5 shows. I get on the plane Sunday evening to go back home, arrive home bright and breezy and bushy-tailed, wide awake on Monday morning. Mm-hmm. And on Wednesday morning, I fly off to Japan for a Graaf tour.
Yeah, the Far East. Yep. So that'll, you know, give me some
more
lag.
Yep. I should be kind of circling the planet, I dare say. Yeah.
Has the internet helped at all as far as this kind of resurgence and building up interest?
It's easier, I think. It's easier for people to stay in touch with what's happening if they're interested, and they can obviously check into sites and get any news and what have you. And there is also naturally all the communities of people discussing what's right and what's wrong with every individual song, every individual album, all of that stuff. You know, the keen guys. So that's good. I'm not sure it's that for people who don't know about anything. It's a morass. You know, it's and the whole kind of, you know, you have bought this, and everyone who bought this bought that kind of thing. Is like, you know, I mean, you know, that in a revert, that's a bit like the hairdresser's backstage moment for me. You can hang on, you know, actually. I quite like the accidentally finding out about things rather than you know, oh, I turned left and I didn't step on that crack on the pavement, so that means that the next 20 years of my life are determined, aren't they?
You go to Amazon and, you know, you pick out an album and then they'll recommend like 12.
Exactly.
Based on that, we think you'll like, you know, Britney
and you should go on holiday here.
I trust them.
Right. Exactly. Getting back to the recent reunion. Mm-hmm. Was that one of those things where you guys just were all in touch and said, you know, it's time to do this, or how did that come about?
The first thing was I had a solo show in London at Queen Elizabeth Hall, and in my other career as record company Supremo, which normally deals with one artist, which is me.
Which is fine.
Which is fine, exactly. But in this particular year, I put out a version of the Goldberg Variations by Hugh Banton, played on organ, because he is an organ designer, an organist. And as it happened, the one bit of promotion that he'd got was happening on the day that I was playing in the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. You know, Classic FM, one of the radio stations, were interviewing him. So it seemed obvious that I should, by this serendipity, I should get him to come in and play an encore.
There you go.
So then Jackson was coming to the show anyway, so it would have been a little bit unfair for So I asked Jackson. So having asked Jackson, since Guy lives in London, you know, I said, well, you know, I don't know what you could possibly do, because we're not going to sneak a drum kit on stage in between, you know, my sensitive final piano number. And he said, I'll think about it. And in fact, we weren't sure that he was going to make it until the day. So for an encore, for the first time in, you know, forever, Actually, no, that's not quite right. But completely out of the blue, we just did this, and then afterwards, I got, which I've had for years and years, a couple of interesting offers. Interesting in terms of it would be, would you be interested in doing this specific event, as opposed to would you be interested in selling your soul for X zillion wonga, because the X zillion would not be X zillion, and be not interested. So I just sent an email to the others saying, look, I'm not actually proposing this, but I'm saying to you that I occasionally get these things. And the other thing is that over the previous 3 or 4 years, we had met 2 or 3 times at the funerals of our members of our road crew, because obviously we're getting to that age, and also road crew generally have harder lives, live those harder lives to the max, and are less likely to survive. In this case, 3 of ours had not, and we had met. So that intimation of mortality thing was kicking in. So I said, if we are ever going to do it, maybe we should think about doing it now, and maybe we should think about how we might want to do it. So then we had a period of about a year of exchanging emails, going through all of the, it would be horrible if, I have a horror of this happening, or we might expect this, we might expect that. And eventually we came down to we agreed that, all right, what we'll do is we'll just meet up for a week, away somewhere where we can rehearse. We won't tell anybody that we're doing it. We're just going to go off and see what happens for a week. And then if we think A, it's working, and B, that there's something new that we can offer, not just do some kind of terrible version of the past.
Right.
If we think that's the case, then we'll go forward. So we booked up a place, set it for February 2004, and then I went off on tour, actually went off to the Rugby World Cup, came back from Australia from that, and then I had my heart attack. So then the intimations of mortality were really pretty serious.
That's a long way to go to make a point.
We can afford to lose a road crew member, but Peter,
So actually that week of getting together was basically the first time I'd left the house. I just had 2 weeks where I'd been allowed to drive, so I was allowed to drive.
Just finding your feet again.
Yeah, exactly.
And did you do the recording there in?
Yeah,
your house?
No, it wasn't my house. No, we went. It was down. This was down in Cornwall.
Okay.
That was where that was Present, and that's when Present was recorded. We went down there, and obviously we had few new tunes to work on. We didn't play a single note from the 70s in the week.
Really?
Didn't play a single. We didn't even
stuff.
even discuss
That's
it.
great.
We just played the new songs. Spent the rest of the time just improvising. Didn't discuss it, but except saying, okay, it's on, it's a go. We'll fix up the show.
Did you slowly incorporate the older
No,
stuff?
well, no. Then we said, okay, we'll do a show. At first we said we'll do one show, which did offer reasonable money, and that was going to be in London, and that's the show where it kind of sold out in 10 minutes or so. 26 different nationalities flew in. Quite a lot of pressure, basically, because we didn't have a chance for a warm-up show or anything. We were backstage going, oh, hang on, whose idea was this? Actually, we know kind of in principle we can play these tunes, but actually, can we play them straight in an hour and a half? And
That's got to be gratifying to know that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
After 30 years of being away, as a group, that everybody is like, oh, Vandergraaf's getting together,
but also the particularly, I mean, from the fans as well as us, the aspect of it's great they're getting back, and there's a new album, and there's new stuff,
exactly, right.
and it's not just this some kind of karaoke version, So
which brings me to this Trisector, the latest one.
The latest one,
just came out earlier this year.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't quite get it in time for our half-year roundup, but
next year
we'll get some reviews on that. No, we still got a half a year to go.
All right, okay.
Doing well for you? People are picking it up?
Yeah. It's to my mind, it's a much stronger record than Present was. Partly because of the circumstances involved. Because we had that experience, we did that London show. We then went off and did not a fantastic amount of touring because we're not a full-time band. That would be one of the things from those original emails. No thanks. We do not want to be trapped into. We don't want to be. We don't want to be responsible for each other in that way. You know, what we'll do is we'll say, I commit to this period. I will put everything else aside and so on, but not that whole life compulsion.
Yeah.
So we had all that. We did that show, and then kind of by the end of 2004, we had to part company with Jackson, saxophonist.
How did that come about?
Well, I'm not going to go into. That's what I'm not going to go into. But it became, apart from saying it became clear that it was impossible for him to be a member of Van der Graaf Generator, and it was impossible for us to be in Van der Graaf Generator with him, which in turn put rather an odd deal on the three of us, because we'd had this kind of magical experience, really, of magical and totally positive experience, both from us, from our point of view, and from the audience's point of view. And we were left with the thing of, well, is that it then? Or what do we do? So again, we decided, well, actually, what we better do is not say anything, go away for a week with just the three of us, play, and see, because obviously the saxophone was a signature instrument in Van der Graaf for years, the main soloing instrument. So we went away again to Cornwall for another week to play, and this time we did kind of try and play some of the things that we'd been playing, which in anticipation of this we'd kind of given marks, well, we think we might be able to do that one, but we couldn't possibly do that one, and so on. And we discovered, actually, with a degree of ingenuity and a degree of a smile and a wink, and kind of, here's the bit where everybody expects the saxophone, so how can we confound their expectations by suddenly playing pianissimo just at the point where everyone thinks it's going to blast out? So we then decided, well, actually, yes, we can do this. And actually, we have to do this if the Van der Graaf story is not going to end as an incredible damp squib. Yeah. Incredible, disappointment, especially after all of the reunion stuff. So, yeah, we did, and we signed up for another tour, and this one was really hairy, because obviously, most of the audience would probably identify the saxophone as the main, saxophone and voice as the main characteristic of Van der Graaf. Wrongly, I have to say, because, and this is what's been made clear by the trio, the driving force in Van der Graaf actually has always been organ and drums.
I've always thought at least the organ.
Yeah.
Percussive instruments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the fact that they're the two who are the axis, and that the bass is on bass pedals on the organ, So actually it revealed, and then you've got this kind of, I'm all right with my pipes singing, but I do remain a pretty clunky guitarist and pretty clunky keyboard player. I can do my job, mind, but I'm not remotely about virtuoso.
For you don't try to do a
exactly. I do
2.5 minute solo.
Exactly. I do my bit, so I can do that, but it does really reveal these other two, and in a way it makes it a much more balanced thing. So then we did Trisector again, going away for. Well, this time we were away for 2 weeks, actually, to make a record. Again, without the expectation that we would finish one. We had, a lot of material, and we went away to the place that's on the cover. And again, and came out at the end discovering, yes, we had we'd made a record, but basically it was more or less live. We had very, very little overdubbing to do, and it ranges from 12-minute song to 3-minute song. Some straight 4/4. Some bits where it's bass and piano and drums. Some bits where it's the whole shebang. Very exciting record, I think.
Well, it's gotten very good reviews. I don't think that people are really missing Jackson's contribution too much.
It's different. It's different. It is a different group, but Van der Graaf has always had this
in different ways.
Yeah. We go to different places, I think. Yeah.
Now to spin this in a completely different direction.
You gonna go back to your original question?
No.
About Chicago.
Well, yeah. Actually, let me ask you about that. Joanna Walton wrote the lyrics for this song, Chicago, on Robert Fripp's Exposure album, and you do a couple of songs on that. NY3, Disengage. Where I'll tell you, I got so much respect for your range. Just listening to the stuff that you were doing back then, from a growl to, top of the lungs, just belting it out.
To be fair, I don't do that so much these days because, again, kind of stuff is voice gets different over years, and your interests get different. I mean, I'm now kind of a lot interested in singing very, very, very quietly. But at that stage, particularly, and particularly because my role in the record was to come in and give it a bit of belt.
Because Daryl Hall sure wasn't going to do that.
Hey.
Well, he would have done. He would have done. He
And
would
he
have.
co-wrote the music on
He would have
that
done
song.
it differently. He was the one who was meant to be doing the singing.
And I guess there's a new version of
Yeah, I think it's
Exposure Out that he does do.
where the original
Yeah.
tapes have come back, and so that all of those versions are available to check out. Yeah, he was supposed to be doing the singing, and then again the way of things, there were legal problems, as I understand it, and so Robert gave me a call and said, "Could you come and do it?" And I said yes, and because that's the responsibility. I didn't have any responsibility because I was under direction. So if you're in that circumstance, you offer something that you think is appropriate. If it's not, and you're asked to do something else, you do something else, which is great. I like doing that. I like doing that to other people as well. Yeah. So I arrived in New York, went in, and I think it was all done in kind of 2-3 days. I May Not Have Enough of Me was another great one because that was a duet. Really, really nasty
Is that the
fighting.
Your House, My House?
That is the way. That is the way.
Yeah.
That is the way that it is.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the way.
And it was a duet kind of sung face to face over microphones after
You and
just
Terry Roach, Maggie
Yeah.
Roach.
it was Terry.
Terry.
Yeah. Just before going in, all right, my line, your line, my line, your line, and literally just the mic there and doing it. Great.
Wow.
Great stuff. Yeah. Disengage. Robert was gracious enough to give me a writing credit on that because I just had the lyrics. Just had the lyrics, and I think I didn't even hear the track before I went in. I think I had the lyrics, looked at them, went in and did the song in 2, maximum 3 takes. And he decided that it had gone so far away from where he thought it was going that it was worth a writing credit.
Yeah.
And then Chicago, which is nice, very nice tune. I've sung Chicago at solo shows.
Really?
I very, very, very occasionally I do a very bizarre a cappella version of Chicago, if you can believe it.
Wow.
I can, and I'd love to hear it again.
See, for me, that was where I got introduced.
Ah.
And then it was like, oh, you didn't know? Let me play you some of
Oh,
this.
right.
And
Oh,
so
very
we
well,
worked
yeah,
backwards.
very
and,
interesting, yeah,
did it
yeah.
that way.
Another song that I thought was just, stopped me in my tracks when I heard it was Handicap and Equality off Pt.2, and they're, it's 2.5, 3 minutes, and you're just very much to the point, and you can't listen to that song without having an emotional experience, and that's one of the things that I love about all your records.
Well, thanks.
But that one in particular just really grabbed me, and you don't talk about cars and girls. I've always respected that about you.
No. No, again, I've got loads of songs, cars.
Well, yeah, okay.
Cars. And there are
You're
girls.
saying
There are
Crash
girls in these records.
Crash Test Dummies owe you some royalties off of that.
I'd forgotten that was actually a car song. In the course of an interview this afternoon, I was not accused. It was noted that I didn't write any songs about cars and girls. I said, no. It's just they're rather different songs about cars and girls. So, I was guided in my throwing the darts for this particular set by the girls' cars. So this one has both a car and a girl involved. Actually, 2 girls involved, at least.
But another thing is now.
Seriously, I've written lots of songs about cars because I spent a lot of time
Get the fan
traveling
bell.
and
Cue the fan bell.
just
Here in my car.
All right. Well, getting back to your writing.
Yeah.
Now, you did the stage play of the Fall
Usher.
of the House of
Yeah.
Usher.
Yep.
You've written and illustrated one book now, Angels.
Killers, Angels, Refugees, and Mirrors, Dreams, and Miracles, but way back. This is way back in the 70s.
So when's the next one?
No.
Can't twist your arm?
I'm really. over the years, I get much more satisfaction from music. I mean, to be honest, I find prose writing is just such a slow discipline, and it just doesn't have, by the time you get to the fourth or fifth draft, there's not really any surprise. You don't have any of that feeling that you're going to have as a punter to the thing, which is the great thing about music. When you record a track for the first time, even if you know what the song is, first time it's recorded and it comes back, you get something of the feeling that somebody else will the first time they hear it, without knowing anything that's going in. Yeah.
Well, in addition to Poe, then, who are your favorite authors?
Oh, these days I read generally modern novels. My brain, and also traditionally, my brain goes to jelly when I have to say who they are.
You like the noir stuff, because that always seems to be a recurring
The what?
element. Noir.
Well, not so much that. No, kind of European. I'm like Primo Levi. I used to like. I quite like detective stuff, actually. To be honest, I like.
Elroy.
No, because again, there's a European-American divide,
Okay.
basically.
Like Hercule Poirot.
Rankin. No. That's too rich. There's a guy called Ian Rankin who writes really good detective stories about
Okay.
Edinburgh. He's thoroughly to be recommended. There's another guy who writes, Dibdin writes about an Italian detective. So these are light reads, of course. Kind of going back, then Pynchon, which again would come as no surprise to anybody, I guess. Well, loads of people, but I dip in and out.
Well, it shows that you're looking for a lot of different.
Italo Calvino, that's not somebody else I was trying to think of. Yeah.
A lot of different textures and viewpoints, and it shows up in what you write and how you perform. But as I said, I've never listened to a Peter Hammill album without having an emotional experience.
Great.
And usually a very positive one. I mean, there are sometimes that.
But the bad ones are also kind of all right.
Oh.
I think there's this
You
and
listen to
it's definitely the case.
Walking
In
or
the,
something, and you're just so creeped out.
yeah, but even the thing of I don't like that. I think in my audience there's because they're diverse, the records. One is different to
Very
another
diverse.
one, and I think generally in the audience there'll be one that people go, oh no. No, he was really on the wrong track there. Interestingly, it's never actually the same. There isn't one that's it. There's different ones that different people.
Each guy has his
Each
different
guy-
one,
each
so
has his different
you
one, so-
can't win from losing.
Exactly.
Well, I have one other writing question. You use imagery from and different songs from comics. There's the Silver Surfer
Yeah.
and Doctor Strange and the Eternals.
Yeah.
And
Well, again, this goes back to that
I like
that
little-
that 70s era, where it was the kind of the.
So were you
the
a
time.
Kirby fan or a Marvel Comics fan or just a comic?
It was
fan?
Marvel rather than DC, I think, for me. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But this is going a long way. Dredging back my youth there.
Did you save some for the kids?
No.
See, I'm still saving mine for my daughter.
All right.
I'm
Well,
hoping
that's
she'll pick 'em up,
fair
but,
enough. Yeah.
I'll tell you, my first impression, just sitting around talking to you, is that to me, you're almost the living embodiment of Flaubert's dictum,
Which is.
which is that approach things in life all with moderation, so that you may be violent in your art.
Yes.
It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah. I do go with that. Yeah. I'm a calm guy. I'm a calm guy in normal life. Yeah. That guy though isn't.
It changes when you get outside.
Yeah, sure. Which is the honour and the privilege and the responsibility of doing this for all these years. And there is a degree of responsibility. It's if I felt I wasn't doing it properly, I'd have to knock it on the head, because then that would be compromising the past. That applies to me solo exactly as it does to Van der Graaf, and why there was this big question when it was just the three of us.
Is it ever difficult just to be inspired to do the next thing?
You have to wait for it. I'm not doing it all the time. I know when something is coming up. I don't write a song a day, a song a week, or what have you. Months go by where I don't write anything. I don't even write notes, and then there'll be a period of activity and of creative process, and at the end of that process, the stuff that I'm interested in during this particular passage of my life, creative and personal, will appear. And I won't actually know what that is until it appears, because the process is actually one of finding out for me.
And
So-
sometimes not even until much later.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. Too right.
So this is the latest solo release, Singularity.
So,
and
yes.
It is a real solo release.
Mhm.
So you play each and every instrument.
Everything, yeah.
How long did this take you to record?
2-3 months, something like that. As we said before we started the filming, it's something that I started doing back in the 70s. When I realised that unless I got some kind of home recording set up, the music industry wasn't going to have much to do with me quite quickly. So as soon as TAC 4 tracks appeared, I got one.
Mm-hmm.
And started adapting what I'd learned from studios, and adapted, started learning my musical chops. So it was a kind of a return. The point about Singularity is it's the first solo record post-heart attack.
Oh.
The Graaf record had been, obviously post-heart attack, but it was
some other people
the stuff was written beforehand and what have you. This was the first time that I was writing a record. Yay! Assaulted it.
I'm sorry, Peter, but you're interrupting Peter.
Yeah, so it was the first time where there were going to be a group of songs that were coming out, and obviously, public knowledge, public fact that I'd had the heart attack. So it was exactly along this line of, it's a responsibility. You go through life, your parents die, friends die, things happen, people get divorced, all this. It's kind of the thing about that living modestly and calmly is that then you take that to rage about it in work. Well, not rage about it in work, but to be fiery about it, at least in work. So I had to address the what had happened with some of the songs here.
Looks like you come out pretty well. You landed on your feet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm still a lucky guy. I make a lot of my own luck, but I am a lucky guy. And now
good.
I'm going to have to do a sound check, because
I know you got to prepare, but thank you. Your website is sofasoft.com?
Sofasound.com. Sofasound.com. All lowercase, yeah.
There will be a link on our website coming up soon. We'll mention that prominently. To get the Peter Hammill back catalog and his latest work, visit him at sofasound.com. And for 1600, once again, this has been Steve, Jerry, Peter, and the guy biting the fan belt in the middle.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you,
It was
sir.
excellent.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right. Get your stuff out of here, Bob.